Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? We are here with you on a Wednesday. Welcome to the Action Lab. My name is Chris. This is Scott, and we are your hosts for the Action Lab. How is everyone doing? We are here on a Wednesday. We're getting you halfway through the week, and we're getting you to your weekend, making it a little bit more manageable for the downhill slide into Friday, right? So, Scotty, we're here. We're here on a new episode of the Action Lab. It could be our best show ever.
I don't see any possibility that it's not with everything we got planned. Excited to be here, ready to go. Let's fire it up. We got a lot of different things to talk about. It's nice. Like every time when we're worried throughout the year, we're like, oh, what are we going to talk about this week? Like the sports world takes care. It takes care of itself. And it writes stories and it does things for us, and it's not hard to come up with things to talk about because it's an ever-revolving door of new stories throughout sports. So
the sports world takes good care of us, right? Because otherwise, we don't have a show, right? So hey, we're excited. We have a lot. We have a lot to get to. Jam-packed show. Belly, how you doing, my friend? What's up,
going on, Belly?
How you doing, my friend? Good to see you back here in the chat. Hope you're doing well. Make sure you're, it's always nice to see you back in the lab. Amen to that, Scotty. I don't know what we would do without sports, Scotty. It's just one of those things. By the way,
it could be weird.
You might notice we have a little bit of, I've been playing with some music. We have some new music going right now. Scotty, you can't hear it, but it's really, really nice intro music. A little more upbeat than what we're used to. So we thought we'd kind of mix it up on you guys a little bit for this initial, just warming everyone up. It's all about getting people going.
It's best that I can't hear it, because if I heard it, I'd just be doing a little like boop, 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 beep, 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 following it along, even though I have no idea what we're doing here.
Maybe I record your voice and we just use that.
Did I just hit the note? Because I feel like I might have.
You may have just hit the note. Man, we have so much going on here. I like the music, fellas. On fuego. Thanks, Belly. Appreciate it. We're trying to keep you guys comfortable, right? We try to get you guys in the mood, in the zone for a nice, relaxed stream. So, I'm always going to be, mixing it up.
Does that mean it's like a slow jam? Are we getting into like a nice off, like by the fire feel, or what are we doing?
By the way, real quick, we had a couple people that jumped into the Action Lab, all of our Lab Rat family here, and wanted to give those guys a call out. While we were gone, we hit those followers. We had 2 over the week. So Yo-Yo 26 and the CJ7. Thank you for following the channel. I hope you guys are in here and popping in. I hope you have your notifications on. If you don't, hit those notification buttons to be on so you know exactly what time and when we're going on each and every Wednesday and Sunday. Sometimes we're a little late. Sometimes we're on time. Sometimes we're early. We're mostly on the late side. But, hey,
we're always late. Let's be honest.
We want to let you have that last couple bites of dinner. You know, if you're on the East Coast, we need to get you, get you all, settled in. We have some hockey going on, too. And like you could be delayed, but if you have those notifications on, you're going to get buzzed that we're going live. And that way we can just have some fun with you guys. And again, I want to see you guys in chat, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. We're on all three channels. So make sure you're hitting those follow buttons and just that's rule number one. Hit the follow button. Rule number two, hey, jump in on the chat. Have some fun with us. We like to hear all of your voices, whether you're from Dallas, from San Francisco, from Toronto, from China, wherever. Where you could be from anywhere in the world. We want to hear you. So throw it in the chat. And 3, just watch and have some fun, man. Have some fun with us. We like to do all sorts of cool stuff on here. You have any thoughts? You have any opinions? You have any hot takes? Hit them in the chat. We love to see all those. Even the emotes. Throw the emotes. Belly's already hitting the fire emotes because we're already on fire right now.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, let's just go.
And we're gonna do something a little different today that we don't typically do. This is a little mix up. Again, we have new music. We have a new flow to the show. We're gonna hit you straight off with the wheel, right? I teased it in our little title there, and we had a lot of fun with it last time. We had a big reaction to it last time that everyone kind of jumped in and enjoyed it. So we're gonna be diving in and doing some of our wheel. We don't even really have a great name for it yet. And again, we're calling on you guys, the fans, all of you Action Lab rats out there, to kind of help us figure out names for some of these segments, because we're still a fairly new channel. We still need some insights, and we want this to be part of your community and want you guys to just chime in on what you guys think it should be called. So last time we called it the sports wheel. This time,
action wheel.
Wheel. I mean, you guys help us out. If you guys, all those creative folk out there, help us out. But let's dive into the wheel here.
There's got to be something with like a wheel. Like we're in a lab. They test on mice and stuff a lot. And there's a wheel, a hamster wheel or whatever. I don't know.
You know what?
Maybe I'm getting too far out there, but there's got to be something along those lines.
No, that's it. Because I was like the hamster wheel, but then we're not hamsters. We're lab rats, right? And then also, I was looking at it like, I don't know. It's not like, I feel like that's a pet thing, not a lab thing with the wheels, right? Or is that like they test it
you got to keep those rats or mice or whatever active before you test on them. You can't have just only test on fat rats. You got to have some that are in good shape.
The world of sports is already taken. How about the wheel of sports? Yeah, wheel of sports is another one we were thinking about. That was what we were talking about last time. So yeah, we're kind of just trying to get a handful of responses, trying to see what sticks, and then go from there. But here's how this wheel works. We're going to go through this wheel, and we're going to run through all of these stories that are going on. Some of them at the moment, we have Euro. These are all things that have either happening or going to happen that we want to just touch on. Now, these don't necessarily have any kind of... We're going to get into news topics later, so this is more of just like an analysis type thing. We're going to dive into what we saw in the Suns-Bucks, what we saw in Euro, which was a huge game today. A huge match between England and Denmark. We have could be the last game of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight, and we have a big event coming up in USC 264. So we're gonna talk all those, but you might see an extra one on there, and that's the Action Lab grab bag. That's gonna be one of those random stories that, hey, just something that popped up during the week or something that you heard about that. Let's just talk about whatever it is, and that's your guys' chance too to throw out your different opinions on various things. So that's what we're gonna go with here. So let's go ahead, Scott. Are you ready to spin the wheel?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. And
The wheel is moving the wrong direction.
sorry. There we go. We're moving the wheel. Here we go. And we have.
Okay.
Ooh.
Where did that hit?
Wow, that hit.
Is that Stanley Cup? I was ready for it to step on.
That's
on
a
Euro.
Stanley
That's
Cup.
Stanley Cup.
Stanley
Okay.
Cup. Okay. So the Stanley Cup Finals is in action as we speak. And Scotty, we had a game last, game 4. Could have been a sweep. And we had the Montreal Canadiens survive with a 1-goal win in overtime to take that one. It didn't go far into overtime, but they battled. It's anything can happen in hockey. We've seen that with all the different low seeds that have made it through. And the Montreal isn't giving up here, and I didn't expect them to. I didn't think that they would. I had the sweep, to be honest, personally, but they proved me wrong. And sure enough, they get another game tonight, which is currently going. Last time I checked, it was I believe what was it? 0-0?
1-0 Tampa.
So Tampa has scored.
End of 2.
End of 2. Got it. So, Scotty, have you been surprised about, the Montreal Canadiens coming back? And this has been a lopsided series. It hasn't been close. So, I called for the sweep, but it hasn't gone that way.
Montreal pulled out a win in Game 4, which is nice. Let's see some more action, some more Stanley Cup. Obviously, a lot of these games, Game 2 was pretty close. Game 4 obviously was close with Montreal coming out in overtime. Games 1 and 3 were pretty much dominated by Tampa, and this one being 1-0. Montreal's just, in a do-or-die situation tonight. Through 2 periods, 14 shots on goal. That's not going to cut it. They've had 3 power plays. They've had chances to create something. This hasn't been an offensive game in general. Tampa's only had 19 shots through 2 periods as well, but did get the goal to take a 1-0 lead. I would like to see Montreal make this a series. Let's get it to a Game 6. Let's go back to Montreal for a Game 6. I think that'd be interesting. Obviously, all of a sudden, if Montreal can win 2 straight, then you have a Tampa team that's kind of reeling a little bit. I know they're the defending Stanley Cup champions, but let's be honest, Tampa's had enough wins in the past year with the Lightning and Bucks taking the Super Bowl. So, Montreal being the big underdog, no one thought they'd get here. Obviously, a very, very average regular season, that's actually favorable that it was average for them. But they made a hell of a run. And, I doubted them. And, even after they got out of that Canadian division, I was like, Vegas is going to roll over these guys. Obviously, they took it to Vegas, who beat our Abs, in 6 games, but after trailing 2-0. So, Montreal needs to put everything they have into this third period, see if they can get to a Game 6 somehow. And if you get to a Game 6, anything's alive. Right now, it still feels like it's Tampa's series, obviously, to lose. But if they can go back 3-2, winning 2 consecutive games, headed back home with some momentum, things could get interesting.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Now, with this close game, as long as this game stays close, Montreal's in a good spot, right? Usually, with these other games, they've gotten out of hand fairly quickly. So the fact that, the last game ended up going, into overtime, those aren't the types of games that the Lightning want to play. And especially with Montreal, when they're in the mix there, they play a different kind of hockey, which I think that as long as this match game, I'm talking a lot of Euro 2020.
Yeah, you've been watching too much Euro 2020.
So as long as that's the case, it's going to be anything can happen with Montreal. So we'll keep an eye on this and see what ends up happening with this next game tonight. We'll keep you tabs with everything happening on this one tonight. So right now we're at the end of 2, 1-0. Tampa Bay is in the lead, but a lot can change. So we're going to keep you posted throughout the course of the stream. So Let's see. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel again, and let's dive into another topic.
Whoa, we're gonna hit Stanley Cup again, aren't we?
Nope.
Shouldn't that leave? Shouldn't it leave?
Well, we got some Euro to talk about.
Euro.
All right, so we got your wish was our command and the wheels command, and you kind of willed it to happen here. So we had an insane match today when it came to the Euros, and it was probably one of the better matches I've seen. I mean, honestly, this is one of the best Euros that we've had in a long, long time. I feel like they're always good, but for some reason this year, it's so good. So we had the English advance on to play past Denmark in the finals of the Euro 2020. So this one was a crazy one. England ended up coming out dropping 1 goal initially, and at first you thought, man, like England was playing pretty well. Then Denmark ended up getting this insane kick from outside the 18. Just a penalty, maybe a little bit further outside of the 18, and just put it on a rope straight to the upper left-hand corner of the goal. Goalie couldn't reach it. Insane. Goes up 1-0. Then from there on out, you had England that just kept coming. There was opportunities left and right that their goalie for Denmark ended up making some miraculous saves throughout the course of this match and kept him in this as long as he possibly could until it got to we went into extra time, right? Where Harry Kane ended up getting a PK in the 104th minute to ice this one. Now, man, this was just roller coaster. Scotty, England is your team in this tournament. What were your thoughts?
Listen, I if you watch this in the entirety of this game, I think it was pretty obvious who the better squad was. Denmark's no slouch. Played a really, really good defensive game. Didn't actually, despite the ball being in their half quite a bit of this game, didn't give up a lot of opportunities, and really, really good opportunities at least, and was able to shut them down in the box and final third and not allow England to just do what they did to Ukraine when they absolutely dominated them, especially through the air with headers and things like that, headed into the box. England has a history of choking, right? Like, they do not come through in big situations on the international stage, despite having a plethora of talent, almost it seems like always. And this team's obviously one of the most talented teams in the world, FIFA ranked number 4 team in the world, and looked really, really good today. But when that free kick went in for Denmark, in the middle of the first half, all of a sudden, England, at that time, you're like, oh, here we go again. Like, England's going to choke this away. They're not mentally tough enough. That was the first goal they've given up in this whole tournament, which is wild to think about. They'd not given up a goal throughout. Their goalkeeper actually broke the record for consecutive minutes without giving up a goal in English international play history before giving up that goal. So in this game, an amazing, direct free kick that, like you talked about, and a crazy stat is that was the first free kick goal throughout this entire Euro Cup.
Yeah.
Which normally you see a good amount. Obviously that excludes PKs or whatnot, but normally you see a lot of those. But what we have seen a ton of in this tournament is how England got on the board later on to tie this up, which was another own goal, the 11th of the tournament. So 1 free kick goal, 11 own goals. Now this one, I'll give, I won't blame the defender for Denmark.
It was going to be a goal.
Some of these other own goals. He slid to prevent there was an England guy right there ready to bury in the back of the net, and he slid to try and prevent it. And this own goal, at least amongst own goals, was not a bad one. He did everything he could. He tried to prevent it from happening, and it just happened to go in the goal.
If that gets past them, that's going to be a goal for the other team.
Oh, it's buried.
Yeah,
for sure. It's buried in the back of the net. Their goalie's not there. And they're, at the 6-yard line. So no doubt about it. So it wasn't a bad own goal. I know when I say it, but it's just crazy to think that there's been 11 own goals. That was the first free kick goal throughout this tournament. And then throughout, you just saw England after that have for the most part the run of play. Denmark had a couple counters where they had a couple decent opportunities, but England really, really dominated possession today. I was nervous as a guy who wanted England. One, I think it's going to be a more entertaining final with England in it, and wanted England. Obviously, that's kind of my team. I said that I'm going to root for in this tournament. I was nervous that it was going to go to penalty kicks. Didn't want that. And I will say the penalty that resulted in the penalty kick in extra time was questionable at best. It could have easily not been called. I will say there was one earlier in the game against Kane where they actually called a foul on Kane, where on the replay it was in the box, and it actually could have been a penalty with a PK there. That one was actually probably worse than the one they ended up calling in this situation. Kane comes up to take the PK, actually gets stopped, and the goalie probably had a chance to smother it and not give a rebound. Rebound bounced right back to Kane, though, and he buried it in the back of the net, and from there, it was pretty much over. I mean, England was the better team. The better team won today. So we have England in the final for the... I don't have to look. The last time they were in the Euro Cup final.
It's been a while.
I'm gonna look that up as we can dive into the first semifinal game that happened yesterday between Italy and Spain.
Yeah, Italy and Spain. Italy ends up moving on, beating Spain. Now, this was a fascinating matchup, right? You had Italy, who is a team that everyone, likes Italy. Italy's not a slouch team either. I mean, they're obviously one of the top teams in the world, and I think they're pretty solid. Deb, 1960, I think.
So I just looked it up. Actually, England has never even made a Euro Cup final. Never made one.
There you have it.
They're the only European team to have won a World Cup but not made a Euro final.
History,
and it's their first appearance in a major international final since the 1966 World Cup. So, I mean, what are we talking there? 34, 55 years since they've been in a final in an international tournament like this, which is just wild for obviously a country that bleeds, football. I'm so bad at saying that. I'm going to just say soccer.
Or football.
It has so much talent. I'll even say at times they're still lacking a little bit in their final third, which we'll talk about with, I think, a team on, your team that you were supporting through this also struggles with that. But
yep.
Both those teams are really, really good at holding possession and keeping it, and kind of creating possible opportunities, but aren't able to finish or create really, really good opportunities. So that's a little concerning moving towards the final, but let's dive into this other semi. Sorry.
Yeah, the other semi. No, I mean, that's crazy to think that England has been kind of in this desert of international, longevity when it comes to tournaments, major world tournaments. So, hey, this is huge for them. Their fan base is going nuts right now. So you just wait till this match kicks off. It's going to be insane. So, Deb and chat cheering for Italy. Yeah, Italy's a fun one to root for as well. They're a fun-loving team.
How dare you?
So we had our Italy-Spain matchup yesterday. Now, this one was a fascinating matchup in a sense that this one came down to penalty kicks. It was 1-1 to finish regulation, went extra time, still nothing. But then, there's a few things that really stood out to me. And one of them was when they were doing the coin flip. I don't know if you watched this, Scotty. When they were doing the coin flip for, the overtime, for the extra time, and they were just deciding who's starting on which side, so on and so forth. There was a moment that really stood out to me on how these two teams approached how this game was going and the vibe of each team. Now, you had both captains come out for both teams, and you had Italy's Giorgio Chiellini. He's kind of like the mascot for this team, right? He's the old guy in the back, right? He's the bald guy. He's always smiling. He's always having a good time on the pitch. He's always that just uplifting guy. So they're flipping the coin, and he's having a great time out there. He's joking around. He's pushing her. He's like, "Come on, lighten up," to the other Spain captain, and the captain for Spain is just sitting there, and he's just stone faced. Like, he looks like he's pissed off at the world, just not excited about what's happening. And that was just the vibe of how relaxed it felt one team was versus how stressed out and how much pressure was on the other team to not screw this up. I just felt so much came out of that where I was like, Italy's playing a little bit more relaxed at this point. They're playing with house money. Spain's the one under the pressure. They're the ones that don't want to go into overtime here. They don't want to go to penalty kicks. This ended up being just ending in penalty kicks for Italy, obviously, hitting 4 out of 5, and Spain only notching 2 out of their first 4. So Dani Olmo and Alvaro Morata both missed their penalty kicks. And then Locatelli was the only one that missed for Italy. But Italy advances to the Euro 2020 with a penalty defeat in this game for Spain. And, man, this team, this is what it was crazy. It was crazy. Spain struggled. Here's another thing that popped out to me was Spain doesn't have all-stars. Remember when they had Davi Villa up front, and they had some of these guys that just are studs up front. The minute they got the ball, golden things could happen. Magic could happen. I didn't get that vibe with anybody they had up front. I think that was what they were missing here. And as you mentioned in previous, they lacked on the defensive side. So, when they face teams throughout this tournament, they've controlled the ball, right? They hold the ball for what, 80%, 85% of the time, but yet they hold it, move it methodically upfield, and then there's a fast transition and they can't defend because they just can't do it. It's too quick for them, and they get caught on their heels, and that's how they end up getting scored on. So that's happened throughout this tournament. They've been hanging on, in my opinion, this whole ride. I root for Spain, but it just didn't feel right this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they weren't a dominating team, and this was not expected to be a Spain team that going into the Euro Cup was gonna compete. They're a little on the younger side. They're kind of transitioning from their World Cup team from, I don't know how many years ago is that now? 7 years. Certainly transitioning from a lot of those guys to a younger roster. I will say every time on the broadcast they said Dani Olmo, all I could think about is Dani Rojas from oh my gosh, from what is the show? Why am I drawing a blank on the show? From the what's the soccer show that I love so much?
I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what you're talking about.
What? Ted Lasso.
Oh, Ted Lasso. Okay, yeah.
Dani Rojas' character in there, and every time they said Dani Olmo, I'm like, oh, Dani Rojas, who's an amazing character in Ted Lasso. If you haven't checked that out, everyone should. It's brilliant. This game was, kind of a similar story for Spain. They held possession for 65% of the game. You're right, their transition defense, when they give it up sometimes, is poor, giving up, a goal to Italy. But Italy didn't, the better team was probably Spain. I'm kind of glad in a way that Spain didn't win this game, because I think a final of England-Italy will be a little more exciting to watch, just in the sense that you won't have constant middle of the field passing, and it'll be a little more up and down with probably a little more opportunities going in both directions on the counterattack for Italy a little bit, and England creating some opportunities, certainly. So I expect a really, really good final. I think both these teams deserve to be in it. Obviously, both these teams have not lost not even tied a single matchup through the table round, and then gone on to make it to this, where Spain obviously didn't have that quite performance. They went one win and two draws in the table round, and not scoring like they should. Their final third, and Taylor Twellman, I think, was the one on the broadcast, I believe yesterday, who talked about it a lot during the game. And that when they get the final opportunity. They're so good at creating opportunities, and they're so good at, distributing and playing keep away and just, creating these great chances, but they have a lot to be desired in finishing those opportunities. They had an opportunity on a header where the guy just whiffed yesterday, and I'm like, how did he miss the ball? Like, if all he had to do was put his head on it, and it was pretty much a goal, and he somehow missed it. It was like bizarre. It was almost like he had to do it on purpose to miss it. P Nixon in the chat, Azuri. Okay. I believe that's, he's going for Italy in the final. I'm going for England, so we can duke it out. We can fight it out. But I mean, if I have to favor someone going into that final on Sunday, I certainly think England has to be the favorite going into this. They've played incredibly well. They've been dominant. They've given up one goal, which was on this direct free kick in this game, on a call that was kind of questionable as well in my mind. Kind of soft. But other than that, they hardly gave up any opportunities of significance to Denmark. Maybe a save or two by their goalie, but I don't know. England has to be the favorite. That doesn't mean it's not. I think it's going to be a battle. I hope it doesn't come down to penalty kicks. I'd love to see extra time because I want to watch more, but I hope someone can take care of it in extra time before we get to penalty kicks in a final, because I don't love to see that decided in a final.
P Nix, England drew against Scotland in group stage.
You're right. All right. Was that in their last game though? Because I feel like at that point they didn't care. They'd already clinched. It was their third game in their group stage. They'd pretty much already clinched, I believe. So true on that note. Oh, I'm wrong again. That was in their second game. I lied again. So I'm making up all sorts of things. So thank you, P-Nix. They did tie against Scotland. But you look at their goal differential, and it's been pretty solid. Beating a Germany team 2-0, dominating Ukraine in the quarters 4-0, and getting a 2-1 win, which was probably a little more dominated than the score certainly reflects in their game today. So, P-Nix, you can tell me, you can be cheering for Italy, but you can't disagree that England has to be the favorite in this game. Has to be.
Yeah, I think if I'm choosing a team to win this one, I would say I feel like England's got the better shot at it. I feel like they're just, I don't know, they feel strong. Whereas I feel more of like and again, Italy's no slouch, but I feel more of like a Cinderella, like Italy vibe. Like they shouldn't be here, but like they are. So, they're playing with house money at this point. So, I mean, I feel like all the pressure is on England because, like, this is the first time they've been here, and this is the first time they've gone this deep in a long, long time in any sort of major event, right? So, I feel like the pressure is something to think about when you're taking this game into account and how that's going to look. But, again, you might see another situation like you saw with that coin toss where it's like Italy's just chilling and England's sweating out under the pressure. So, I mean, who knows? Like that could be a lot of weight on their shoulders to have to win this game for all of their fans. So, P-Nix, I'm Italian, got a route for that. Gliziri.
I feel like there's some English in your background as well. I could be wrong. I'm not as up to date on that as well, but I feel like there's got to be some British in that background as well. So I believe you did live in Italy for a bit there, studied abroad there, and some Italian. That's fine. But I didn't ask who you were rooting for. I know who you're rooting for. You have to admit that the favorite in this game, as I looked up to verify, is in fact England.
I mean, getting called out there, P-Nix. I don't know. But yeah, so as far as this goes, so you're obviously going England in this one. You have your prediction on the score?
Honestly, I kind of see like a I'm gonna go 2-0. I'm gonna go 2-0 final. I know I'm going on a limb with not allowing Italy to get a goal, but like I said, England hasn't given up a single goal in the run of play outside of the free kick in this semifinal today. I just think they're playing really, really well. Yes, they have pressure. In a final, I think both teams are feeling pressure. I think both teams are feeling you can show out there and act like you're loose and all of this, but there's a lot of pressure on both sides to come through in this tournament when you're in a final of this magnitude. So I think yes, there's pressure, which comes in, and especially in some of the when you have time to think. But a lot of time in soccer, you don't have a ton of time to think. You're just playing on instinct. You're doing what you've always done, what you know how to do. And I just think, especially on the outsides, I think England has a lot of talent on the attacking outsides that is going to be the big advantage here, where they're going to be able to create opportunities. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, who I want to talk about for. I'm the worst. The guy who I think's been the best player throughout this tournament for England actually is, as I look it up really slowly. I'm not great with names, guys. Sterling for me he was phenomenal in this semifinal. Raheem Sterling's been phenomenal throughout this. I really like Saka on the outside as well. They played really, really well. He got subbed out eventually, but when he was in there, he was dominating on his outside. So those are two guys. Sterling's the one who drew the foul, I believe, in extra time to create the penalty opportunity for England to move on. So I just think there's a little too much there, but Italy's been a nice story for sure. And I don't think most people projected Italy to make it as far as they have here. They've kind of been a little bit down since their peak, in the 90s, early 2000s. And when I say down, they're this ranked number 7 in the world. So not exactly terrible, but there's some teams in front of them with, Belgium, France, Portugal in this Euro Cup, ranked ahead of them. So congrats to Italy. We have a number 4 versus number 7 in the world facing off in a final. It should be a good one.
It's going to be a fun
one. Who do you like? Oh,
man. So again, my analytical brain thinks England's going to take it. I'm going to go Italy.
I feel like all you're doing right there is covering both bases. You're like, I'm saying England, but I'm going to go with Italy, so I can't be wrong.
No, I'm gonna go Italy. Okay. They're playing with a lot less pressure. They're playing with house money. I don't think I guess in their locker room expected them to be there. Their fan base expected them to be there. I don't think a lot of people outside of that expected them to be there. And I feel like that is just what is making this one so much. Again, England's has so much more pressure on them to execute. So I don't know if that's going to – I see that coming through a little bit. So I'm going to go Italy. I'm going to maybe take a close one. It might go into PKs potentially. I know we don't like to see those necessarily, but I think I'm going to go Italy.
All right.
All right.
Should we make a wager?
Last time we made a wager, I had to shave my beard for – what was it?
We don't have to go that extreme. This could be a lighter.
We'll do something.
Lighter
wager. Let's do something. When is this match taking place again?
Sunday. It'll be before we go on Sunday.
Okay, so maybe we talk throughout the week, and then also in chat, help us out with some bets. Maybe we can throw them out there on some things that we could throw out as winner and loser for a potential bet for this match. So. All right, let's spin the wheel again. Let's roll it. I'm not eliminating these necessarily. All right, we have the Action Lab grab bag. So what this means for all of you out there is we want to not only see we're going to talk about a couple sports topics that maybe weren't big news times, crazy headlines, but are still in the news, and we just want to throw out some thoughts on them. It could be wacky stuff, it could be weird stuff, it could be anything you want it to be. So throw it in the chat if you have a headline that struck you this week. You were like, man, what is that? Like, what happened there? Let's talk about it. And then from another standpoint, if there's anything that Scotty and myself has, we're going to throw that out there too. Looks like we have Deb in the chat. Jersey from your favorite team. Okay, rock some jerseys maybe. For
is that a question? Like,
for a bet?
What is there? Oh, jersey from your for the bet. Got it. I thought that was for the grab bag, like asking a question.
I'm gonna kick off the grab bag though, and then I have an interesting story here, and it involves a nice young wide receiver, N'Keal Harry, who is the newest wide receiver for the New England Patriots. Now, he was the first round pick, and he's out of Arizona State, number 32 overall pick in the 2019 draft. So, he's been around, but just 309 yards, over 2 scores in 57 catches in 14 games last season. Still nice young talent, still doing some things. He was in the news for requesting a trade out of New England. Now, I feel like this doesn't really happen too often in New England. People usually go to New England, want to stay in New England because obviously you have Bill Belichick and everything else. But New England's also been rebuilding a little bit. Following numerous conversations with the Patriots, his agent mentioned that it's time for a fresh start for both parties if N'Keal moves before the start of the training camp. And this has to do with just him seeing targets. Now, he's a key ingredient for the key ingredient is his production, pretty much the opportunities he'll have. Now, they made some acquisitions over the offseason, bringing in Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne as free agents. Also acquired Hunter Henry in this, as well as Jonnu Smith. And those moves made it just pretty much more of a situation where he didn't want to be in. So he opens up, he's requesting a trade out of Foxborough, which again, you don't see very often. And yeah, like a young kid. I mean, it also takes some balls to go out and say this as a kid who hasn't exactly, done much, and he's trying to prove himself. I guess that's part of it too, though, right? He wants to prove himself and try to make a name for himself, but at the same time, it's like you got to earn your stripes, and then you do that through training camp and through all these other things. So if you're young and you can beat out some of these guys, like, do it. It seems like you're just jumping ship, and if you're that good, prove you're that good. Prove you're better than some of these vets that may be getting older in age.
I don't know. Sometimes it's just, I know he's only been there 2 years now, and he was injured for majority of his first year. But it just seems like a divorce is looming. It seems like for everything about Belichick being a tremendous, obviously going to go down as maybe the greatest coach of all time, most successful coach ever. Obviously, he's been the GM there essentially throughout his run there too, and done a great job with that. The only thing he cannot do, it seems like, is draft wide receivers. This is another failure, and I'm going to draw a blank. He's had a lot of first and second round picks that just haven't worked out. But when they picked N'Keal Harry in that draft in 2019, a couple guys on the board still. I don't know, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Mecole Hardman. Like, all of these guys were still on the board. So it doesn't look great. Obviously, he hasn't put up a ton of numbers. He hasn't got a ton of targets, though, either. And we'll see who the starter is in New England this year, whether it's, Mac Jones or Cam Newton. Cam Newton's not a guy, if I'm a wide receiver and I'm trying to make a name for myself, I don't want Cam Newton at this stage of his career throwing me the ball. I just don't feel like he's accurate. I don't feel like the timing is there. He's not a guy that's going to put up big numbers and help wide receivers out a lot in this stage of his career. So I don't hate it from N'Keal Harry. It makes sense. Who knows what he has and what he can be obviously, you talked about guys they added at the wide receiver position with like Nelson Aguilar being the premier one. Like that's not exactly like a name you're just like, oh my gosh, there's no way. Like he's behind on the depth chart. He's number 4 or 5 on a depth chart on a wide receiver core in New England that's not that strong. So is that the coaches are fed up and he just hasn't done it, or is he in a bad system, or is he just over it and he's not putting in effort, but he can maybe go to a new team and a new scenery and make a name for himself and ball out like he did at Arizona State? Because he's obviously, there's a reason he was the number 32 overall pick in the draft. I will say, like, I don't think the Chiefs will do anything with this. I don't think New England would trade with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are notorious for taking guys who were picked high in the draft in the first and second round and don't work out with their teams and making a trade for it. They do it all the time. So in that essence, like, I could see the Chiefs maybe diving in on this. That, obviously they lost Sammy Watkins this offseason. Right now, Mecole Hardman's that guy that's going to have to step up a lot, along with Demarcus Robinson, to go along with, obviously they have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. But I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see where N'Keal Harry ends up. I don't think he'll be with the Patriots. I think there was a possibility, even if he didn't get traded, he'd get cut. So it's not like in a trade, the Patriots are going to get much here. They might get like a flyer late round pick, like a 6th or 7th rounder, but that's about it. Yeah. Which is crazy when you think about, you drafted this guy in the first round 2 years ago. So a waste of a pick. The Patriots have never been able to produce elite wide receivers. You think about the wide receivers that have done really well in that system, they didn't draft any of them. Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, all those guys they picked up in free agency. So they have not been able to draft and develop wide receivers at all, which has been one of their Achilles heels. And they don't have, obviously they went out in free agency to do what they know they can do and add weapons. I question how good those wide receivers are, but certainly Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith at tight end are two legitimate weapons at the tight end position that they can use as long as those two can stay healthy, especially Hunter Henry, who has a long injury history with the Chargers. But it'll be interesting.
Look at us talking some football when there's not football stuff going on. By the way, P Nix in the chat, free Shikari. Hey, you're alluding to something we're gonna get to very, very soon. So just be patient, P Nix. We have some thoughts. On this, so we'll jump into that as well. Scotty, you have anything you want to throw into the grab bag?
The only thing I don't think we're going to talk about tonight that maybe is something we could talk about. Deb, everyone's throwing out stuff in the chat that we're going to touch on later. We're going to touch on the match with Aaron Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau, along with Phil and Tom Brady a little later. But the only thing we aren't going to touch on necessarily that happened today, a big story, is obviously Wimbledon's going down. We had the quarterfinal today. Roger Federer losing in straight sets. Obviously he's 39 years old, so it's incredible that he's even in a quarterfinal of any major tournament like this at all, especially coming off an injury like he had. Nothing's promised. Like, he went down in that third set 6-love, which has never happened to him at a Wimbledon ever. He's never lost a set 6-love. He's only lost 2 sets at majors throughout his career 6-love. I think once at a US Open and once at an Australian. So obviously got dominated today, but still, I mean, Roger Federer is one of the greatest to ever do it. Certainly at Wimbledon, he's the greatest to ever do it, rivaled only by like Pete Sampras, but he's surpassed Pete Sampras. So hell of a career. Obviously went down today, but there's no shame when you're 39 years old and had the wear and tear that he's probably had on his body playing on all these tournaments throughout the years. I mean, when you're a tennis player, you start your professional career at like, I don't know when he started his. I imagine it was around 16, 17, 18, certainly no later than that. So he's been around. You think, 39 is not that old. He's been playing professional tennis for probably close to 30 years.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, 25 years.
It's been a while. It's been a while for sure. Now it's interesting though, because I obviously I like to bet quite a bit, and I had my pulse throughout the early stages of Wimbledon, and a couple of my sources through that I use for just getting insights on different things actually have been hinting at him losing at various stages up until this point. There was just the way that he's been playing. Obviously Federer is incredible, but these young kids have been really just quicker on the draw. I mean, it's an age thing, I think. It is what it is. And actually the source that I usually use for my betting throughout the week predicted that this was going to happen in this upset today. They actually predicted it was going to go longer. They said that over 32 and a half games, which didn't hit. So that 6-0 final set really hurt the under, or hit the over on that one. So if you bet on the over, then it didn't quite hit. So they thought it was going to be more of a competitive loss for Federer, but they did predict the loss. So yeah, it's crazy to think how he's been such an icon, and he still seems to be like competing at high levels. But the young kids are getting better and better coming into these tournaments, and if you're not keeping up, these kids will take you down quick. They're faster. The return shots are even better than they used to be. I mean, they're so good. So yeah, big ups to Federer. Hey, this might be it.
I will say, I feel like his head of hair in his press conference today was fuller than I've ever seen it.
He's
so whatever
still a
hair loss
good-looking
product, whatever hair loss product he's using, thumbs up, because that's working.
Is he going to be the next Palomalu, or is he going to be on the Head and Shoulders commercials soon?
Well, you know who's on the Head and Shoulders commercials with Palomalu these days, so probably not. Do you know who's on those commercials?
I mean, wait, your boy?
I'm getting my drink ready.
Don't do it. We're not going to even say his name. Let's spin the wheel. Let's just spin the wheel here. We have a couple more here, and then we're going to get into some topics that you guys have been wanting to talk about. We're going to keep spinning here. See, this is what happens when you don't remove them.
I was going to say, can't you eliminate them?
Yeah.
Can't you take them out?
Let's eliminate this. We only have two more now.
Oh. You eliminated all but one.
All right. Well, we're talking bucks.
This is gonna be the craziest spin I've ever seen. Let's go.
This is what happens. Bucks
didn't land on.
This is now we're spinning records. Now it looks like a record player, right? So we're talking
green.
We're talking some Bucks, and we're talking some Suns, which happened in game 1 last night. Now this game, it wasn't competitive, then it was competitive, then it wasn't. So we were going back and forth all over the place with where this game was going. Now, Chris Paul is just a man on a mission, right? Chris Paul is just unbelievable, and what he's been doing to lead this team has been unbelievable. Devin Booker obviously is incredible. He's just leading this team. Obviously, look at what they're doing, man. Like 27 points from Booker, 32 from Paul, 22 from Ayton. You got your three bigs, and your three bigs delivered, right? That's what you expect. Cameron Payne and Johnson coming off the bench, 10 points. That's what you want from your bench, right? All of them shooting well. 3 for 6 for Johnson, 4 for 8 for Payne. All of them shooting pretty high percentages across the board. Ayton was 8 for 10. Paul was 12 for 19. And Devin Booker actually didn't shoot extremely well. 8 for 21, 1 for 8 from 3, but still contributed 10 for 10 from the free throw line when he needed to make it count. So across the board, the Suns just were the better team. No one expected Giannis to play, by the way. People didn't expect Giannis to be back in these playoffs, much less game 1 of the NBA Finals.
I mean, when they hyped that he was going to play game 7 if that happened in the Eastern Conference Finals, I didn't believe it at all. I thought they were just putting that out there as like a thing. I did not believe. He was initially doubtful for this game 1. Then they moved him to questionable, and I'm like, that's just like they're playing games right now. He's not going to play. And then he came out, he played. He didn't play bad. Like he made a block that was in a transition play that looked like, I mean, that was one of the more athletic hustle blocks I've seen in a while. They tried to, of course, ESPN tried to be, it was like the LeBron block from years ago against Golden State in the finals. It wasn't quite in that situation or that moment, but he looked, I mean, he was 6 of 11. He didn't take a ton of shots, but had 20 points, 17 boards. So first game back after missing a few with that injury, he looked way better than I actually thought he would. Wow. I thought he'd be a disaster in this game.
Oh man, he looked fantastic. I
will be fair. I poured money on Phoenix in this game because I love Phoenix, especially once they announced Giannis was going to play. Although that only pushed the line like a point. It went from like 6-5, Phoenix favored by. But either way, I loved Phoenix in this game. Thought they would definitely. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case exclusively moving forward, but in game one, Phoenix has won every game one that they, throughout the playoffs. Milwaukee hasn't been that good in game ones.
No, and they've made it this far.
Home, more rested. Giannis coming off of an injury. Who knows how he's going to look. I loved Phoenix, which came through.
Yeah, a surprise here was Brook Lopez playing pretty well. 7 for 14 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, 17 points. I felt like they needed something from him. Drew Holiday needs to be better, and I feel like Middleton is a guy that I've always kind of thought like you don't really realize how good of a game he's having it because he's just not a flashy kind of guy that really does a lot that you're just like, wow, man, like what, like he's killing it. You just all of a sudden look up and he's got 29 points, 12 for 26, 5 for 12 from 3. It's just like, yeah, like, I don't know. He doesn't seem like that guy, right?
If you ask Kendrick Perkins, he's the Batman, and Giannis, the 2-time MVP, is Robin. I think Kendrick Perkins at times says some crazy things. He actually, after game one, he went on Twitter and talked about Phoenix being a dynasty. And I'm like, let's slow down here. I almost wanted to use a bad word there, but it's late night. Let's slow the fuck down here.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to talk dynasty with this. I don't think this is an all-time great team for Can you hear that?
What's that?
No, sorry. My laptop's going on. I don't think this is an all-time great team that Phoenix has. Obviously, you look at who they beat. They beat a LA team in the first round without Anthony Davis and a probably banged up LeBron. Obviously, Nuggets in the second round without Jamal Murray. No Western Conference Finals, no Kawhi. We talked about this the other night, and we thought no Giannis in this round. So they were gonna just go through every round of the playoffs without, a top 2 guy on the other on each team being there. But now Giannis is playing, so that changes it up. Before there was an excuse for the Bucks. Now, I don't know. Like I guess you could still make the excuse Giannis isn't fully healthy, but he looked pretty healthy. He looked fine in game one as from a movement standpoint, lateral movement. His knee looked okay. So I don't know if there can be a lot of excuses at this point. This is two, in my mind, relatively healthy teams going at it. Like Chris Paul somehow has an injured hand, and then he went and hurt his other hand in this game somehow on a play. I think he's just a drama queen or king at times. But man, he had an incredible third quarter. I'll give him that. That was the key in this game. That third quarter, obviously it was pretty tight. It was an 8-point game at halftime, but in that third quarter they pushed it to like 20 because Chris Paul just went off in a stretch where he was just money, hitting some tough threes, taking guys off the dribble into the lane, doing his pull-up jumpers like he loves to do. Chris Paul's playing great. I don't like some of his antics at times, but from a basketball IQ level and ability at his stage in his career to do what he like, Kendrick Perkins talked about dynasty because he's like, there's no reason that Chris Paul can't do what he's doing now for a few more years, because it's not like it's like he's doing this with athleticism. He was far more athletic earlier in his career than he is now, but I don't know. He's still gets around guys. Like in that sense, like his ability to drive and get around guys reminds me. Now, normally he pulls up for mid range, and he's the best mid range guy in the league. But it reminds me a little bit of James Harden. I'm just like, I don't get it. How do these guys get around people? Because they don't look quick, but
no, they
get
find
around
the
guys.
shots.
They get
Yeah.
around guys.
I mean, that pick and roll at the top of the key, and then he just dribbles into like the elbow, like halfway to the elbow, and just pulls up and just pulls those little jumpers just mid range every single time. That's what he murdered the Nuggets with. All of a sudden, he started missing those shots against the Clippers, and now he's kind of back hitting those again. So he's just like, it's just what he does. He just destroys you with those just little shots. And if you're not hitting shots on the other end, and they're coming down and hitting those every single time, you're gonna find yourself in deficits like the Bucks did. Now they made a run though. They made a run and almost were able to close the gap towards the end of this game. They had scored the Suns in the fourth, 29-26, but still it wasn't enough. They dug themselves too big of a hole. But at the same time, like Giannis is only going to get healthier. I feel like the Bucks seem to need a little bit of a feel out in the first. Like, I don't know, maybe that's what they haven't played well in the early stages of these series, but they're able to come back and adjust. I think that's what Budenholzer's been really doing better over the course of this season that he hasn't done over the previous seasons, is just making adjustments. So keep an eye on that and see, because you got some good defensive players on the Milwaukee Bucks. That you got some size there, you got some ways to stay in this series, and I think they'll make some changes and make some moves to keep themselves in some of these games coming up. So let us know what you think about this matchup in the chat, whether or not you think the Bucks have a shot in this. Are they done, or are the Suns gonna slowly just kind of start falling off a little bit? Who knows?
And to be clear, because we didn't specify this, I have the Suns and you have the Bucks, right? This was before game one. This was actually prior to the conference finals.
This was prior.
Prior to the conference finals, you took the Bucks to win it all. I took the Suns. I don't think this is a done deal at all. I think if Bucks win game one, this whole series is flipped script. But the Suns just did what they needed to do in game one and take that game.
Yeah,
I think that was going to be the easiest game for the Suns to win throughout the series. So I fully expect this series to go at least 6 games. I don't think this is by any means a quick series. We'll see what happens, but I think the Bucks will be competitive. They'll win at least a couple, and it wouldn't shock me if they win this series. Like, Bucks are a really good team that have been building to this moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Let's spin the wheel. We got a 50-50 shot to get this last one on the nose here.
By the way, while this wheel's spinning, I will say we need to update NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Yeah, Stanley Cup playoffs. Tampa, we talked about Tampa being up 1-0 at the end of 2. That is still the score with about 5 minutes to go in the third period. So with 5 minutes to go in the third period, as you keep spinning, hoping that this lands on UFC.
How many under how many spins it's going to take us to land on UFC 2?
I think this is the last one. But 1-0. Tampa is 4 minutes and 53 seconds from defending their Stanley Cup championship and being back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
Gosh, it still irks me, man. The Avs needed to be there. The Avs were the ones that needed to be there. And I mean, obviously the Golden Knights, Vegas Golden Knights could probably be saying the same thing. That's just what we're.
It's weird that Montreal's there, but here we are.
Yeah.
And the Avs need to come back with a fury next year, just like our Nuggets are. We're all good in Denver. We're going to be good outside of the Broncos being terrible, which is fine because the Chiefs will be good.
Just wait. We're going to get into some Aaron Rodgers, i.e. Conversations eventually here soon. But we have one of the biggest fights of the year in the UFC on Saturday night with Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor. They have a huge UFC battle in UFC 264. So with this, we wanted to just throw out a little bit of just preview of what we expect from this one. Now, obviously, Conor McGregor has been just, all over the place. He's been boxing. He's been doing some different things. Hasn't exactly been, getting the outcomes that he's been wanting in some of these. But he's back here fighting Dustin Poirier. And it's funny. I actually saw a crazy story today that I texted you about, or we were talking about prepping for the show, and I was like, man, there's some drama going on with this. And obviously all these fights always have like some sort of like just freaking trash talk, all the shit talking that goes into these fights pre-fight. And again, this is nothing short of that. So I saw a headline today that the champ, want to be people's champion, Conor McGregor, is for this rubber match, was tweeting out that Dustin Poirier's wife was trying to DM him on Instagram, and he posted the screenshot to his Twitter account. Very cryptic, no context, no description, no nothing, just a post of his wife trying to DM Conor McGregor. And I was like, oh man, these things get juicier and juicier. And it's just to like hype up the fight. It's to get like people riled up and just sell more pay-per-views, because obviously that's a big piece of it. But just those are the kind of crazy things that you just hear through these that I'm just like, man, what's happening?
I think McGregor has a little bit of money where he can hire someone
Photoshop.
to probably Photoshop a fake. There's no way Poirier's wife is DMing McGregor. Like, this is all nonsense.
Oh yeah,
but I like it. Like, it's funny. It's funny for McGregor to try to pull that out and like have his team make something up like that. But there's no chance that that's happening. So a lot of the trash talk, I always question in like fights, whether it's boxing or MMA, like the trash talk, is it real, or are they just trying to hype this fight to get viewership, to get more money? Like, I mean, obviously these guys are facing each other for a third time, split the first two. So there's gotta be some ill will and bad blood when you're fighting, like, when you, like any playoff series where in basketball or hockey or anything like that, where the more you face an opponent, like the more bad blood that exists and creates itself, and you just get sick of these people. So we got our third matchup with this. I think it was like, it wasn't even 6 months ago that they had their second match, right? Where Poirier came on top. I'm so bad at saying his name. I know how to say his name. I even rehearse it. And when it comes live, I can't say it. But Dustin, I'm going to call him Dustin, against McGregor. The odds are almost neck and neck right here. McGregor's a slight favorite, at least on FanDuel when I'm looking. Or I'm sorry, Poirier's a slight favorite, minus 126. McGregor's minus 102 to win the match or fight. I'm going to be honest. I think McGregor at this point of his stage is more in it for the money. I would take Dustin here. And when I say that, I am by no means an expert, and no one should follow my advice. But I want to make a pick regardless, and I'm rolling with Dustin.
And again, this is the rubber match. So the first time McGregor KO'd Poirier in less than 2 minutes in 2014. This goes back a while, as his stars ascended to heights that you are seeing currently. And then Poirier avenged that loss on January 23rd with a second round KO in this matchup. So this is the rubber match. Obviously, they both won. Now McGregor feels like he's been a little like aging a little bit, right? That's what I've kind of seen in previous fights, but again, this is a big one too, because the significance goes deeper than just winning this. It's likely landing a title shot against lightweight champ Charles Oliveira. Oliveira. I can't even say his last name. Anyways,
that sounded right.
It's a time to challenge the lightweight champion, and that this winner could do. So, this is a big one for them. Poirier has held the interim belt before, but again, I think this is going to be a closer match than people think. I think this will be a fun one. I think this it's definitely going to be better than all of those Logan Paul, Jake Paul fights that you've been seeing on. At least this one will be a legit. Deb and chat, Tampa Bay just won the cup.
There you go.
Wow. Breaking news. There we go.
There you go. Handled Montreal pretty handily in 5 games.
Wow.
Defending back-to-back champs. Tampa is the sports mecca of the United States right now. three title town.
Title
town out there.
Tampa.
In Tampa Bay. Who would have thought?
Crazy. So, unbelievable. By the way, guys, what do you feel about Tampa Bay winning? Tampa Bay title town. Is Tampa Bay title town? I mean, they as of recently, it's kind of hard to argue that, right? It's kind of hard to push against the fact that they're winning a place in Florida. Tampa Bay.
Let's not worry about the Bucks winning this year because it's not going to happen.
As long as they have Tom Brady.
Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
As long as they have Tom Brady, you never know what's going to happen. But, yeah.
I just told you what's going to happen. It's not going to happen.
So, yeah, crazy. So those your thoughts in the chat. Yeah, I'm getting ESPN highlights and updates and everything else hitting my phone, hitting all my notifications. Speaking of notifications, hit those notifications if you're watching the show. First of all, just thank you for being here and checking us out. Also, just hit that follow button. It's free, whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. We love you from each and every one of those areas. And then finally, we just want to see you in chat. Let's talk it up. Let's talk some sports, guys. Let's go. By the way, I've seen also some headlines going back to UFC 264 that if Conor McGregor wins this fight, it would potentially cement him as one of the best of all time. Would you agree with that? Just as a closing on this topic here.
I mean, isn't he already in that conversation?
I mean,
all he's doing at the end of his career is hurting his legacy. I think all he's doing at the end here is not helping. I mean, when he was at his peak, he was one of the best fighters we've ever seen, no doubt. Like, there's no question about it. Obviously, he's a draw for a reason. He said, what his quote was, "Any man that fights me 3 times, God bless them." So he's coming into this fight talking like he's gonna take it down, but I'm not convinced. I still like Dustin, and I'm rolling with Dustin.
Yeah,
rolling with him.
I think if I were to bet on this one, I would say Dustin as well. But we'll find out here on Saturday for UFC 264. So make sure you're tuned into that. Honestly, I wouldn't hate ordering that one. I don't really order too many of the fights, but that one could be a good one to check out. By the way, the undercard I heard was supposed to be pretty good as well. So
I'll send you a free stream.
All right,
don't order it.
There we go. Okay, we could just do that.
And to all our followers, I will send a free stream. I don't know how to do that, but I'll do it.
Just don't share that. Just don't share it amongst all your friends. How about that? All right. Well, that wraps up the wheel here. Thank you so much for joining us on that. But now we're getting into some of the topics that you guys were mentioning earlier on the Action Lab grab bag when we landed on that wheel. So let's dive in real quick. We have 4 topics tonight to get through the last part of our show, and we have a lot to talk about here. So guys, don't go anywhere. Hang tight with us. We have some fun things happening in these topics. So let's dive in. And one of these is regarding America's team. Is it America's team still? I don't know.
I mean, viewership would say yes.
Yes. America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, have inherited the honor of being hosted on Hard Knocks. For HBO's Hard Knocks. Now, again, Dallas Cowboys, based off of track records of any team that's been on the show, Hard Knocks is not exactly a show you want to be on. Last season, the Rams, was it the Rams?
Rams and Chargers.
Rams and Chargers, yeah. Last season, focus of the show. Rams finished 10-6 and made it to the NFC divisional round, while the Chargers finished 7-9 and missed the playoffs. The last 11 teams to be featured on HBO's Hard Knocks, only 4 have made the playoffs in their respective seasons. That's the New York Jets in 2010, the 2013 Cincinnati Bengals, the 2015 Houston Texans, and the 2020 Rams.
You and I need to qualify that though. 4 out of 11, but in order to be on Hard Knocks and featured on Hard Knocks, you could not have made the playoffs in the prior year. So it's not like it can just pick and choose from the elite. You have to take a team that did not make the playoffs the year prior. That's one of the. There's several prerequisites that have to fall in line, or a team has to, opt out to not care about those prereqs, which has never happened because most teams don't feel like having Hard Knocks there is going to benefit them. And you're right, the results haven't been great, but at the same time, usually the teams they're featuring are pretty bad in general. Where I think this Cowboys team is probably has higher expectations than a lot of those teams in the past.
I was going to say the Cowboys didn't strike me as a team that is a pretty bad team, given the fact that what they have coming back into the season with. I mean, honestly, I think this could be a team that could. Everyone's saying they're going to be bad with all these others. This could be one of those 4 adding to the 5 teams that make to the playoffs this year. So there's some expectations there, and there is a little bit of a circus kind of around Hard Knocks with. How it's filmed, it takes over, the entire, this is going to be a shorter preseason too. So it's not like, I'm curious on how that's going to look with, only 3 games, right?
Two.
I'm sorry. So we'll see how they end up, chopping up the show to be about that. Now, in 2002, the Cowboys finished 5-11, missed the playoffs after appearing on the show. 2008, they again missed the postseason, though they did finish 9-7. So, as far as this goes, America gets their team on Hard Knocks. I think this is a good win for HBO because there's obviously Cowboys fans all over the place, and they're all going to be tuning in. The ratings are going to be crazy for this year's episodes. So I think it's a win for HBO and the Cowboys. I don't think it's going to hurt them. I don't think it's going to help them. It's just kind of like I don't know, just an average thing for me.
Depending on who they feature, because you never know in a Hard Knocks who they're going to feature storyline wise. A lot of times they take some under the radar guys that are like borderline roster guys, which is fine, and that's interesting to watch too. But there's clearly a lot of good storylines in Dallas this year that they could feature. Hopefully they can get Jerry on. Anytime you can get Jerry on TV, he's entertaining. You never know what Jerry Jones is gonna say. So he's entertaining of itself if he's on there, and he loves the attention show. So I'm sure he'll make himself front and center as much as possible. Obviously, you have the number one storyline's Dak's back. Like Dak coming off that gruesome leg injury from last year, heading into training camp, back after being out essentially the whole season, minus a few games at the start. So that's the number one storyline. They have a young defense that was obviously awful last year, that needs to turn it around with some young picks, and you have a linebacking core that on paper could be elite. They drafted Micah Parsons in the first round to go along with Leighton Vander Esch, who was basically injured all of last season, and then Jalen Smith, who was a guy out of Notre Dame that was like the number one recruited prospect ever, and then he got hurt in his bowl game, fell to the second round, but has had some good years. Didn't have his best year last year. So turning around the defense, you have Ezekiel Elliott, who I think it could be a storyline. He had his worst year of his career last year. Granted, they had a lot of injuries on their offensive line. Hopefully those guys will be back this year. And then the biggest question mark for me is I'm not a big Mike McCarthy believer. I don't think he's a great coach. I'm not a big fan of his.
He's not that guy.
Yeah, to me, obviously he's won a Super Bowl, so you got to give him that. With Green Bay, he won with Rodgers in whatever, around 2010 or whenever that was, 2011, I think. So you give him credit there, but I don't know. He went to Dallas, and Dallas looked way worse last year under his command. I don't know if I trust him. I don't know if he's caught up to how the game's changed because he's been a head coach for so long and he doesn't adapt say like I don't know, an Andy Reid might do, and come up with new plays every year. I'll drink again because I mentioned it's Chiefs.
If you're new here, obviously Scotty talks about his Chiefs way too much, so
I tell no lies though.
We've tortured
him. Comparisons. I think it's a great comparison to talk about a coach that's been in the league but adapts like Andy Reid and a guy that maybe doesn't adapt that well, and Mike McCarthy. Dallas does have a new D coordinator in Dan Quinn, obviously a guy who was head coach with Atlanta prior to this, but headed up the Seattle defense early on when they were winning Super Bowls. So maybe he can make a difference along with the young talent they drafted in the draft. So obviously it's going to get viewership. When you put Dallas on anything, I mean, they're opening up the season as well. They're facing off against Tampa on that Thursday night game to open the season. Like, Dallas still gets more viewership than any franchise. That's why they're still America's team, because they have the #1 fan base. And anyone disputes that is absurd and ridiculous and is just a hater, because they are. They have the #1 fan base, like it or not. Even if you don't think they're a great team, that's fine, but they're still going to get viewership.
Where's Mayday when you need him?
They're still going to... Well, Mayday has his own problems with... The Eagles are just a terrible, terrible roster. But destined to finish last in the NFC East this year. I'd be shocked if the Eagles don't finish last in the NFC East this year. Anyway, but I think it's going to be a super fun Hard Knocks. I feel like the last couple of years has been lacking. I think 2 years ago, was the Raiders. The most intriguing part of that is I just fully figured out how weird Derek Carr is. He's a strange dude. He's really, really weird. So you find out about guys like that. I already knew John Gruden was weird. Like, John Gruden's just a weird dude. Everyone knows that. But Derek Carr is a super weird guy, and we saw that on our knock. So get him behind the scenes. Should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I love me some NFL, so I will dive into anything like this. And I'm all about the Cowboys getting it. I actually heard a rumor that the Broncos were going to be in it, and I heard they were... Debatably, I heard they ended up being the #2 choice, which I would have liked to. I would have liked the Broncos on there. There's some interesting storylines there as well. But did you see today? It's totally off script. That Drew Lock driving his car in Missouri, I believe, had a lug nut from another vehicle. A wheel fell off another vehicle, and the giant lug nut smashed into his front windshield and just. Like, almost, it was lucky it didn't smash through the whole windshield and crush. Like, the picture actually looked bad of the windshield, but this giant lug nut was just stuck in the middle of his windshield. Like, Drew Lock could have gone down for the count today with like a serious injury from a Missouri highway accident with someone losing a wheel on their vehicle today.
Insane. Well, thank God he's safe, and thank God he's still going to be. Hopefully the quarterback outside of
absolutely thank God
outside of Aaron Rodgers once he comes here in maybe a month or two, who knows, once we get there. But that's where we're at. So hey, who's gonna check out everyone watching, who's gonna check out Hard Knocks? Now I always like checking it out regardless. Like, there's always just fun stuff happening on Hard Knocks, so it's entertaining. I'll enjoy it. I always do. There's not really too many times where I've watched Hard Knocks and I've just been like, this kind of sucks. Like, why do I watch this? It's usually pretty good. I mean, it's always fun to get the behind the scenes. They really do get a lot of the best quotes, a lot of the best things. Obviously, they cut out a bunch too, editing wise, but hey, I enjoy it. So, hey, go check out HBO's Hard Knocks if you haven't done it yet. It's gonna be a show, a spectacle, and as long as Jerry Jones gets on camera, we'll have something fun to watch. But on to the next one here. And this was mentioned earlier by P. Nix in the chat. And this has been kind of a story that's been growing all across various forums, various sports, various news channels and articles, everything else. And that's the big story about Sha'Carri Richardson, who's one of the highlight runners for the U.S. track team. And she was disqualified. Well, here's the thing. She's out of the main event at the 100-meter dash, accepting a 1-month ban for testing positive for THC, chemical found in marijuana, as most of us know. She could still have been selected as a member of the 4x100 relay team, and seeing as how she won the 100 meters at the Olympic U.S. trials in June, it seemed like a good bet that she would earn one of the final 2 spots available. But that option has ended up being off the table when USA Track and Field announced it is full roster Tuesday, and Richardson was not included on that roster, which blows my mind. This is ridiculous in a sense that something like marijuana can completely just dash your... I mean, Olympics only come around... Now, she's young,
Did
right?
you say dash on purpose?
That was actually on accident, but... See, I don't even... That's how long we've been doing the show. I just don't... It just hits me, and it just hits... Phoenix, such BS, she's out. Yeah. She's highlight, right? You see her on screen, and she's highlight. That's the kind of person... One, she's talented, and she's... someone fun to watch on the U.S. track team. So, in a statement, at USATF Track and Field, said it was incredibly sympathetic towards Sha'Carri Richardson's extenuating circumstances and fully agrees that international rules regarding marijuana should be reevaluated. Now, this was partly a stress thing that happened. So she mentioned she accepted responsibility, said shortly after her mother's recent death combined with the pressure of preparing for the trials led her to use the drug, which she's even being honest about it, right? It's all about like, all right, I don't know. I just feel like this is one of those things that marijuana is starting to be a more prominent thing around, right? Deb in chat, the rules are the rules, and she made a choice, not the right one. I think that's the other side of the spectrum that people are saying too. People are saying that, hey, like when it comes to steroids in other sports, you know what's legal, you know what's not legal. So, baseball, whether you're in, we've talked a lot about this in horse racing, like, there's a list of banned substances, and you got to stay away from those, right? Even if it's stupid and it doesn't make sense, you got to stay away. But at the same time, there's some things here that is just like, I don't know. It's kind of tough. Shortly after the 2012 Olympics, international regulators loosened restrictions on marijuana use, increasing the threshold for a positive test to a level designed to catch athletes who were using marijuana immediate hours after or before competition. Potential bans were reduced from 2 years to as little as 30-day suspension, which what Richardson is facing. So that's kind of where we're at here.
Which is why she could have still been a part of the 4x100 because of when that event took place at the Olympics, which was after the 100-meter individual race would have occurred. So she would have met that 30-day threshold for the 4x100 for whatever reason. Maybe if you're the Olympic officials and everyone's giving you heat off of this, something that in a way she created this on her own.
Yep.
Clearly, maybe it was petty, maybe it was bitter, maybe it was other American sprinters being like, I don't want to race with her because she made that poor choice. Now listen, there's two things that are obvious I think to most people here, and they can both be true. Both arguments can be true. The first argument is clearly the rule is a bad rule in today's world, and where we're living and how marijuana is now perceived and things like that. It's certainly not a performance enhancing drug. It's not allowing her to run faster, anything like that. So the rule in itself is flawed and poor and should be changed 100%. But at the same time, the second thing can be true, that she knew the rules. She knew what the rules were, and listen, she was clearly going through some stuff. Yep. From what I heard, she actually found out. So her biological mother did not raise her. It sounds like her grandmother did, but she found out through someone asking her in the press that her mother passed away. Can't imagine that. Even someone that didn't raise you, can't imagine that pain and what that creates in your mind. But I don't know. It's a hard thing because at the same time, she made a decision knowing that this could jeopardize. She knew the rules. She knew that taking having some marijuana could jeopardize her her ability to represent the U.S. in the Olympics. So I think both things are true. I think, I read something, and this sounds really bad, and people will probably hate this, especially PNix in the chat. Like Doug Gottlieb, someone on Twitter, a basketball guy, said that at this point a marijuana test. I'm actually not gonna say it. Never mind. It's too controversial. I'm gonna leave it out.
Hey,
I thought better of it.
If Mayday was here, he would say, "Don't get canceled, Scotty."
And PNix rule comes from U.S. government research from decades ago. Time to update. Absolutely, it's time to update those rules, and they should be updated. And that shouldn't be something that affects someone's eligibility moving forward. But you can't ask them to. Everyone else that's competing in these games has followed those rules, right? I'm sure some of these other racers or athletes, regardless of what sport, have loved to partake in some THC, some marijuana, and they didn't. So is it fair to them to say like, oh, we're just gonna throw that rule out now and let her race? I don't think so, and that sucks because she's I saw her at the Olympic trials and she dominated that final. Like she was clearly the best sprinter in the USA, and probably PNix. I didn't say it, but he said it. He knew what Gottlieb said. It's not an IQ test. Gottlieb's an idiot. All right, but in a way, in a way, like it's all she has to do. She knows the rules though. So in a way, listen, we can agree that the rule sucks, but the rule is there. So there are laws and rules that probably suck throughout history and countries and nations and laws that we can agree aren't good, but that doesn't mean if you break them that you're not susceptible to the punishment that happens. So I think it sucks that she's out. I hope she rebounds from this. I hope she's in the next Olympics. She's already looking to the World Championships next year. I believe they're next year or the year after. She already talked about that. Great. I hope she wins those. I hope she dominates. But
yeah, and
like it's a tough rope. Like you can't just make an exception after the rule's in place. And if the rule wasn't in place, that'd be fine. But don't be an example to the rule. Change the rule. No one was talking about this rule prior to her not qualifying because of this, right? Like no one in the world was talking about this. No one cared. And now that an elite racer like this did this, now people care. So she made it an issue that maybe wasn't an issue because people knew the rule and did it. Should it be changed? Yes.
And we're getting there, right? The NFL has lightened. I think NFL and NBA are starting to do some things where they're taking marijuana a little bit less serious as they have in the past when it comes to things, right? And we're moving that direction. But yeah, it's one of those things where USA Track and Field is also not put in a great spot. Obviously, they want to defend her because she's one of the best athletes that they can put forth into the Olympic Games. But at the same time, it's like, well, what is this saying if we endorse her to all the other athletes? Like, as we're mentioning, this goes through. But
PNix and not IQ, maybe a bad choice, but nothing to do with her IQ. I agree. I don't even think Gottlieb meant IQ. It was just a matter of like, hey, if you do this, you're jeopardizing your ability to win an Olympic gold. So, and everyone's different, and you can't speak for everyone and what they're going through. I get it, but just, man, it's hard for me to fathom someone like that has worked so incredibly hard at their craft and to be the best, certainly in America and possibly in the world at what they do, which is running, to jeopardize that, breaking a rule that listen, she knew the rule. It's an odd situation and it's unfortunate, and I hate that this is a story, and I hope this rule goes away next Olympics, but I also feel like they can't just make an exception at this point. Like you have to, the rule's the rule, unfortunately, which sucks.
And again, she
would have been electric.
She'll be available to, compete at the next one. She's young. She has plenty of time. She's mentioned that herself. She's moved on. She's acknowledged. The way she handled it is really, in my opinion, just says a lot about her. I thought was so Seth Rogen came out. This is a funny piece of this, a funny like lighthearted side of this whole story, was saying, man, if weed is a performing enhancing drug, man, I must be the fastest man on the planet, and because him and Snoop Dogg would be probably the fastest people on earth if weed was a performance enhancing drug, and that's what it's qualified as, right? That's what they say it is from a U.S. anti-doping agency perspective, and so it's like it needs to be reevaluated realistically. If it's gonna be a performance enhancing drug, then you got to take a deeper look at it, because obviously you have people who smoke a ton of weed out there that are superhuman, probably like Marvel characters at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, superpowers at this point. So good for them. And the question is, can they not be in the Olympics because their superpowers go away if they have to stop for a little bit?
I don't know. It's a weird one, man, but we'll see. I mean, obviously, again, she's handling it with grace-ish. Like she's making sure that she's saying and doing all the right things. She's on to the next thing. She's, accepting response. So, hey, I appreciate that from her. So you got that. But let's move on. We had a big match this past couple days. What was it? Yesterday. During the NBA Finals Game 1, because I was going back and forth, and then you were like, "Oh, don't forget the matches going on right now." And you saw the most of this, correct? Bryce DeChambeau.
I watched a good portion. I watched the start of it, missed a little in the middle, and then watched the end. So I saw a good chunk of it. Yeah.
Now, Bryce DeChambeau and Aaron Rodgers were teamed up, and then Mickelson and Brady were teamed up. So they do this every year. They do it for various charities, and it kind of gives you, it's just a 2-on-2 where they go out, they play the course, they do different holes, mean different things when it comes to charities and different stipulations, and they have fun with the commentary, and they have them all mic'd up, and it's a lot of fun. So with this came a lot of, obviously Aaron Rodgers is at the center of a lot of, storylines on where he's going to play next year. There was a lot of those types of like jabs trying to get someone to,
It would be what you took out of this.
Yeah, there was that. Obviously I was perking up for anything that happened with that. So you had that. Tom Brady, I think, is great in these things. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning was fantastic because those two they're the same type of personality. I felt like Aaron Rodgers was a little bit maybe like, I don't know. I always think Aaron Rodgers is like a low energy, awkward guy. When he was hosting Jeopardy, I felt like he was kind of awkward and just kind of, trying to make it work when really that's not his personality. Same thing with this. And it's fascinating to see the personalities that you don't get to normally see on every day. But Aaron Rodgers and DeChambeau end up getting the win to get these little bracelets that they couldn't put on after the event was over. They were struggling because they didn't size them right for the athletes. But there were some interesting storylines. But what were some of your biggest takeaways? And I think I have a couple graphics queued up here for you as well.
Yeah, overall, this was a relatively even match. It was super on hole 1. DeChambeau, and I said before this, actually, I should start with this. I asked one of my buddies who's pretty into golf, I'm like, who do you got? And I felt like it was a pretty obvious answer myself, but I wanted to know. And he's like, I hate all 4 of these guys, but I'll take Rodgers and Bryson to win. And I'm like, I could not agree more. I also don't like any of these guys. I will say Brady in his later years has become far more entertaining than I ever thought he could be. And he was pretty entertaining and made some jabs on there that was nice. Aaron Rodgers is a super dry, sarcastic person. So I can kind of relate to that because I can be that at times, but I feel like on TV sometimes like people just miss that and just it comes off like he's like doesn't care, or he's
Pissed
just
off or
pathetic, like just doesn't care. Like it's not always a good look. Like not everyone's gonna get the fact that he's just this super dry, sarcastic individual. So it doesn't always play. Bryson came off exactly like I thought he would. Super arrogant, super into himself. Always he seems to be a relatively positive guy. Always positive with things and like this and that, but like way more confident in his ability than he probably should be, especially when he was missing drives left and right, and Aaron Rodgers was just striping some in the middle of the match to put them in good position. Where the craziest hole though was I want to say it was like the fourth hole. It was a par 4, and DeChambeau did hit a drive and with a 3-wood, mind you. From the hole was 392, but it was a dog leg shortcut, so it wasn't that long. But DeChambeau put it to probably about 10 feet for eagle, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere Brady takes out driver and puts it to like 12 feet. Incredible shot, and ironically no one makes the eagle putts, and actually Brady and Mickelson win that hole with a birdie, as Bryson and Rodgers end up parring that hole. They 3-putted from 10 feet. But Rodgers putting was incredible. He made a ton of 10 to 12 to 15 foot putts that were just money. He played really well for the most part when he needed to. I mean, he hit a lot out of bounds just like Brady did, but him and Bryson seemed to like pair their bad shots and kind of alternate who was going to have a good shot more than Mickelson. Mickelson didn't play great. He had some weird bandage on his arm or hand, so I don't know if he was injured. He talked about it a little bit, and he just said he was a baby and that he was just protecting himself, but who knows how injured he was, because he wasn't exactly hitting it deep and he wasn't exactly hitting it well. So Mickelson didn't play great, but Mickelson in these formats actually, to me, even though I don't love him, is pretty entertaining. He'll talk it up, he'll chat it up. He'll go through details. He'll do it all. So, despite the fact that I hated all 4 of these guys, I still watched. So that means something. And these formats are a lot of fun to me, and I look forward to them continuing these. I think this is the 3rd one they've done, I believe. Brady has been in some. Obviously, Charles Barkley was in one. Different guys. So. I fully expect my boy, Patrick Mahomes, to be in one soon.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
But I don't know. Did you add those? Did you add what Tom Brady tweeted out today?
Yeah. So I have some
pretty funny.
Yeah, so I have some tweets here that you guys will probably appreciate. I didn't see these until you brought them to my attention, but these are going to cover up most of the screen, so you won't see our pretty faces, but we want to get you a close up on these. So
our viewership should skyrocket when you can't see our faces.
So here's if you remember this taking place a while back. This was when they were in a tournament together, and obviously Bryce DeChambeau was passing behind Brooks Koepka during his interview, and just the hatred of these two for each other, especially Koepka for DeChambeau. It was so priceless. It was one of the best moments on TV you could possibly imagine. Go YouTube it if you haven't. But here's a little tweet. This was by you said by who? Again?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
And by Tom Brady, I mean Tom Brady's social media team.
Yeah.
He might have had a part, but there's 0% chance that Tom Brady knows how to make a meme. I'm pretty confident about that. So, but this was funny. This was one of 3 images. This is actually probably my least favorite of the 3, but it's still pretty good.
So there's this one, Bryson and Aaron beating our heads in on the back 9. Memes and trash talk not translating to being good at golf. Wrong. I teased it. Aaron hitting every fairway, making every putt. And then
I mean, he did.
TNT scheduling next year's tournament. Phil, when they try to pair me with him for a 3rd time next year.
that one's probably my favorite. Like Tom, knowing that Phil is probably just exhausted with Tom Brady's has the capability to hit some good shots. It just doesn't happen often enough. And Aaron hit the putt, so that was the key. But Tom Brady, best response on Twitter with involving Koepka. I mean, anytime you can, obviously Koepka and Bryson are going back and forth, and we've talked about that quite a bit.
It needs
it's the
to
most
happen.
entertaining on the PGA Tour, and you said it's stupid that it hasn't happened, and
it's dumb.
I sent you a story about how, the U.S. Open crew reached out and Bryson said no, he doesn't want to be paired with Koepka. It'll happen eventually. It's only a matter of time. Like, eventually in a tournament, by default, they have to be paired up. Like, they'll just be, in position on the weekend where they have to. And I can't wait to see Bryson just totally fall apart when that happens, because I'm on Team Brooksy.
Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm on team. I have told you I'm on Team Brooksy too. It just feels right,
We have an uncle-in-law that's on Team Bryson, and it just blows my mind that anyone's on Team Bryson.
Yeah, it's crazy. So all right, let's go to the last one here. And we had some major news over the weekend. 4th of July weekend, you can't have any kind of news outside of the Nathan's hot dog eating competition. Now, this is one of the biggest competitions, food eating wise, in the world. Obviously, hot dogs are the main event. Joey Chestnut ends up winning the hot dog eating championship. 76, setting the record. Now, everyone was betting on the under 73 hot dogs. 73 hot dogs was the mark going into this. And that started out about a couple weeks ago in plus money, the under. All of a sudden, it went all the way negative. Everyone is pounding the under 73 hot dogs. Like, it was just falling in Vegas, no matter what you did. Luckily, I was going to pound the under as well, but FanDuel didn't give me the option to bet on this event. I don't think. At least I didn't find it. So you saved me some money, because he ended up setting a record for 76 hot dogs eaten at one time. Now, Scotty,
Why did everyone like the under? I feel like he just surpasses his record every year.
No, well, he's been slowing down
a lot.
He's been slowing down a little bit over recent years, and obviously, who knows what happens. He's like a science experiment. Like, what your body can do as you age year after year. Obviously, he's not slowing down. He's picking up. But there was a couple times where he's kind of fallen off from reaching. Like last year, he was projected. He didn't end up hitting what he wanted to hit. Obviously, he was hurt. I think he was actually sick or something leading up to it, and he still crushed. Obviously, but he's incredible. Now, keep in mind, I'm gonna pose a question to you, Scotty. Based off of his 14 championships. SP Nix, you're jumping the gun here. Based off of his 14 championships, is he the greatest athlete to ever live?
When you preface that question, I didn't know what you were going to ask me, but I felt like that's where it was headed. Let's be careful with the word athlete. I think you're playing with me right now, and you want to ignite something in me, because by no means do I find this to be an athletic endeavor of any kind. There's a trait that exists within him that allows him to do it. Does it breed athleticism? Absolutely not. There's no athleticism outside of the fact that they show it on ESPN involved in this eating competition.
It's one of my favorite traditions. It's one of my favorite traditions on 4th of July.
Now, obviously, a lot of people, my argument that I hate with this is that when people get mad about this competition, when they get mad about, they're like, oh my gosh, this is just a testament to how America is gross and overeats and this and that, and there are people that are starving and this and that. I'm like, those same people are probably 76 hot dogs probably cost, I don't know, $10. Whereas they're going out for a steak later that night. Let's calm down. Can we just have fun sometimes? This is fun in a sense. A lot of people don't like watching it because it's weird to watch. You watch a guy just shove hot dogs in his mouth and dump him in water and just ruin the hot dog. Like, it's clearly not about the flavor or taste. But it drives me nuts to see these people that are like, we should stop doing this because this is, the worst part of the American culture is our oversaturation and overdoing this. And I'm just like, can we just relax for a minute and have some fun? Like, let's just enjoy what it is. Like, it's an eating competition. Like, you're not going to be able to stop it. Clearly, they're getting paid off of sponsorships because people like watching it, whether you like it or not. So if you don't like watching it, don't watch it.
And he's not. Yeah, he's. It's crazy, right? People just up in arms.
Yeah, I think that argument's stupid. I don't care for it. I don't understand it. It's a mentality that I don't want to dive in too much, where people have to feel like with their thoughts, everyone has to agree with, and if you don't agree with their thoughts, you are 100% wrong, which is not, ironically, the opposite of what this country was founded on, because it was founded on differing beliefs and the ability to have free speech. And I'm diving into a whole different thing.
We're going patriotic.
We're supposed to be talking about hot dogs, and I'm diving into the Constitution. We don't have to do that, but it gets me riled up sometimes, and I get mad. But I don't know. I didn't actually watch this, so I missed it. And even the times I've watched, I don't know that I find it as entertaining. I think you like it more than I do.
I love it.
Yeah. So you talk about it. Go ahead.
No, it's just one of those things. It's like, I did, if you were here on 4th of July, I did a short stream and I was talking about the most American shit. This is one of the most, this is the most American thing you can watch. One of the most American things you can watch on TV, right? Like, it's just, I feel like you're talking about Constitution. We're getting in patriotic kind of vibes here. I should have had the national anthem playing behind what you were just saying. It should have been, I should have had that queued up.
I assumed it was happening.
But a man who could eat 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes, 22,800 calories, total fat, 1,368 grams of fat, 1,824 grams of carbohydrates, and then 836. He got his protein, 836 grams of protein. He's now won 14 out of the last 15 years. He's just insane. Now, by the way, there were some shitty parts of this too, because it's a 10-minute event, and the broadcast was cut out for about 3 minutes total throughout, this glitching out, which even happened towards the last minute of the competition.
The controversy, he may not have had 76 because we don't have it on tape.
Conspiracy theories, it's all the rage. So get your shit together,
and
ESPN.
And he probably landed on 76 because our Constitution was signed in 1776. It's all a conspiracy. Let's go with it.
It's all tying together, man. You won't get this on any other Twitch stream ever. Penix, I want to get to this little photo here. Penix, how do you have a pick with Joey? Did you try to eat?
Out-eat him?
To out-eat him? And no, that's impossible because he's the legend. He's the man, the myth, the legend. He is the champ. But I used to have a job working for a lacrosse team, professional lacrosse team here in Colorado, called the Denver Outlaws, if you heard of them. And they played over at the Sports Authority Field, Mile High at the time. That was what it was called, where the Broncos play, where, just all the major events happen as well. Well, during halftime of the 4th of July event, or actually, no, it was like a 4th of July. It was previously to the 4th of July, so he was headed his way to Coney Island, but this was one of the prelims. So, by the way, if you don't know, he has records in all sorts of different foods. He's got the records for most sandwiches eaten, most donuts eaten, most oysters eaten. There's competitions for all of these things, right? He's got so many records, and that's where he makes his money. He makes over $100,000, $150,000 a year eating all these foods. Well, one of the events was burritos at Sports Authority Field. These little tiny mini burritos. And how many he could eat. I forget how much he ate. Obviously, he won, but I had to stop. I saw him walking by in the tunnels underneath the stadium because I was I do on-field production for them at the time. I do a little marketing, a little bit of that. And
Humble brag.
you know, it was a fun gig. I got paid $100 a game, literally $100. So it was just like a fun gig in the summer, to just be on the field and do some fun marketing stuff. And I saw him walking by, and I had to get a picture, right? Because he's obviously Joey Chestnut, the nicest dude you'll ever meet. He's fantastic. He's like, I asked him for a picture. He was ecstatic to take one with me. We talked after the picture was taken. We're pretty much best friends. So him and I, we keep in touch. You know, we text and stuff. So if you ever need never need.
What would you need from Joey Chestnut? Someone to consume hot dogs that are about to go bad in your fridge? Like, what do you need? Like, call up Joey. We need him stat because we just growed up a bunch of dogs that we're not going to finish.
But this is my claim to fame, everybody. This picture right here is my claim to fame. This is why I'm here. This is why we got the show going. This is why we do what we do, is because Joey Chestnut is my inspiration, and we live by Joey. So
I'll say it's wild that he ate 76 and the second place guy only ate 50.
Oh,
like,
it's zero competition.
That's insane.
Zero
That's
competition.
Insane. I think before I looked at the betting odds, and I don't know if I remember now, I feel like he was like at least 50-1 favorite. Like, you had to drop 50 to make $1. So not a lot of people probably bet on him, I would assume. But to be 26 hot dogs better than the second closest person is wild and insane. So good for him, I guess. Did you watch? I will say there was the first time event there. It was a chugging competition. It was a gallon of lemonade.
I missed it.
It was a gallon of lemonade, and this dude who's apparently notorious for, like, on YouTube for downing. And I gotta look it up again. Hold on. Different drinks on. His name is Eric Badlands Booker. He's a big guy.
Oh yeah, he's usually in the competition every year for the hot dogs.
So apparently he's even better at chugging, and he won that. He chugged a gallon of lemonade, which I believe has about 400 grams of sugar in it, in about 40 seconds. I think it was around 40 seconds. The other guy in the final with him was like, I feel like he was like half done with it. So it was something else that's interesting to see. A new star on the horizon in the world of competitive eating / drinking now, with a chugging competition, downing a gallon of lemonade in 40 seconds. And he like got arrogant with it at times. Like, he stopped, he burped, he like played with the crowd a little bit. It was interesting.
Yeah, it's wild. Pretty crazy. He owns 50 world records, and there's so many different records. So so hot dog 76, hard boiled eggs 141 in 8 minutes. Glazed donuts 55 in 8 minutes. Pulled pork sandwiches 45 in 10 minutes. Taco Bell soft shell beef tacos 53 in 10 minutes. Chicken wings.
I feel like I'd compete there.
I can compete in the Taco Bell for sure. Chicken wings 182 in 30 minutes. Shrimp wontons 390 in 8 minutes. Mutton, I don't know what a mutton sandwich is. 4 ounces, 81 sandwiches in 10 minutes. Big Macs 32 in 38 minutes. Tamales 102 in 12 minutes. Ice cream sandwiches 25 and a half in 6 minutes. It's a cold factor on that one. Hostess donuts 257 in 6 minutes. My father-in-law would be proud of that one. Pepperoni rolls 43 in 10 minutes. I mean, there's more here. It just keeps going. So that's what you're looking at with Joey Chestnut, and he's just a beast.
I just Googled his net worth, which is estimated to be around $2 million. So, which isn't like
has
a
his own
wild number, but for someone that just eats fast, pretty good.
He has his own sauces. He markets those out. Joey Chestnut's like he has condiments like ketchup and mustard and different sauces.
Water? Is one of them water? Because that's what he dumps his hot dogs in when he's eating them. So does he have a condiment of water?
Have you seen? By the way, I don't. We're going old school too. Have you seen the This Is Sports Center commercial where he's on the like they have those various athletes on those commercials?
I feel like I have, but I don't remember it.
Oh, it's fantastic. They're in the lunchroom. Obviously, they're going in. He sits next to Van Pelt. He sits down, he has 2 hot dogs, takes them, dunks them in, eats them, eats the bun, and then he walks off like no big deal. He's in and out. And Van Pelt's like, what is he? Okay, like what was that? Like, it's pretty funny. Go if you're watching, go Google that. It's a fun one. I think it's Van Pelt in that commercial. But either way, hey, he's a legend, and he's gonna keep doing it too. And I'm curious to see what ends up happening. This is the longest segment on hot dogs I've ever heard. We wanted to leave you with something bright before you go back to your work week.
Maybe this is the bet. Like the loser of the bet has to down like, I don't know. We don't have to get wild, but like 4 or 5 hot dogs on a live stream.
I bet you though, P-Nix, this is the most you've ever learned about eating competitions in your life. I guarantee you learn more in this stream, what we just talked about in this segment, than you ever knew about competitive eating in your life. And that's why we're here, to give you the information that you never thought you needed.
And may still feel that way, but we're going to deliver it anyway.
You may still feel like, why am I up at 9:42 Mountain Time listening to 2 dudes talk about hot dog eating competitions? It's because we're a family. We love you guys, and we're always here for you, and we're never going to leave you hanging. So that's where we're at. So thank you for enjoying that stream as much as we did. I still don't need it.
But you stayed here, and we appreciate it.
But we appreciate you being here throughout all of it. And you know what? But it was enjoyable. See, there we go.
See?
We knew we would get you there. We missed you, P-Nix. It's been a while since we've seen you in the lab, so thank you for popping in. Thank you all, everyone, for popping in the lab. P-Nix, Deb, everyone in the chat. Belly, thanks for popping in early on. Again, thank you for all the followers who were here early on as well, and the followers that were, following when we were offline. So the CJ7 and Yo-Yo-Yo26, thank you so much for joining the Lab Rat crew. We are here every Wednesday and every Sunday talking sports, talking all the fun stuff. As you can tell, we don't always talk sports either. We talk hot dogs for 20 minutes or so and have fun with that too. So we like to have some fun content for each and every one of you each and every Wednesday and Sunday to get you through the middle of your week and get you through the last end of your weekend before you get into your work week. So hopefully you guys, and for all the young kids, your school week. Shout out to Mayday, Miss Mayday. So thank you guys all for being a part of the stream. If you're here and you're not following, hit that follow button, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. We really appreciate it. Again, we just appreciate the viewership, but following is always meaningful for us as well. But then even more than that, we like when you comment. So next time, if you were on the edge of the dance floor, kind of like, I don't know if I want to jump into the dance floor yet. Next time, we got you. We're here. We'll ease you into it. We'll have some fun with it. So, we love each and every one of you, Scotty. What do you got?
Yeah, appreciate you all. We're gonna be back here on Sunday. Gonna have a good show. Haven't fully figured it out. Haven't talked it out, but I think maybe talk about some MLB All-Star stuff. So snubs and the rosters that were announced the other day, along with talking about the Home Run Derby and maybe who we like in that. That should be a lot of fun. We're going to know the Euro Cup champion. We'll talk about that final that's going to occur earlier in that day on Sunday.
UFC?
UFC fight on Saturday. We're going to obviously have a game or two in the NBA finals to catch up on. So a lot of things to talk about. And we're only, at that point, we're, I think, under 2 weeks or right around 2 weeks from the start of the Olympics, and that's going to be a lot of fun to to dive into. We're gonna talk about that. Maybe we'll have like a fun bet or competition that involves you guys, where you guys can make some predictions as well. Something easy.
Medal counts or something.
Medal counts and predicting like the top 3 medal count winners as far as countries, and play a little competition with that, where maybe the winner gets a prize.
Boom. By the way, I have a big surprise for everybody here coming up in the next show or two. More on that. So you hit that notification button. You guys will love it. And then 2, I have I'm gonna be at the I think I'm gonna be at the Home Run Derby this coming weekend.
That's what I heard. What I heard. On Monday. I'll be there too. I'll just be working.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
Yeah, I got a last-minute invite, so I'll be, I think, checking it out, seeing what it's all about. I actually went to the Home Run Derby the last time it was in Colorado. I didn't go to the actual game, but I sat in the stands.
4 years old?
I was young. And I still have the program in my basement from that game, All-Star game. Pretty crazy. I'll be going to back-to-back All-Star games, and the only 2 that's ever been here. So I'm batting perfect from the plate right now in All-Star Derby attendance.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
But
I just hope to get through the week. So I got interesting week ahead.
You're gonna need a massage, a spa day.
I don't know what to expect. That's the weird thing when you have events like this where it's not like a normal game. It could go really, really smoothly and be great, or it could be really, really awful. Listen, I'm used to awful. Like I got called, over this last homestand on our fireworks games. I got called an F and A-hole. I got called a lot of things by a lot of people. I'm used to it.
We need to go to the bar, watch some games, and I need to get some of these stories out of you because I can't wait to hear them.
Yeah, I get people chewing me out or throwing their hat and glasses at some of my employees that inside the ballpark, so not even out a window. There was no window separating. So there's some interesting cats out there. But hopefully obviously we had to put this All-Star game together pretty quick, but hopefully it goes smooth. We got a lot of different moving pieces. It's not just All-Star game and Home Run Derby. There's events on Sunday. And there's a bunch of, play ball park at the convention center. So if you're local and you want to check it out, that is free. Their advance tickets are sold out, but if you walk up day of and just show up at the convention center, there's going to be tickets available. And by available, I mean free still. So that event is free. Going to have a lot of interactive, fun things, autographs from, a lot of MLB stars throughout the years. Fun things like that. There's a lot of different things going on. Hall of Legends at the new McGregor Square if you want to check it out. It's going to be fun. It's going to be wild, and I can't wait for our next week's Wednesday show because that means that I've made it through All-Star Week.
By the way, guys, for all you guys who don't know, this event takes usually teams have 2.5, 3 years to prepare for these things.
Couple years usually, yeah.
It's a couple years to prepare for these things, and the Rockies had to do it in 3 or 4 months. So I'm sure it's going to be fantastic based off of everything that we've heard. It sounds amazing. So it'll be great. But
it's cool. And representing for Denver, the Sunday event. So the Sunday event, there's 3 events days at Coors Field. Obviously, Tuesday's All-Star, Monday's Home Run Derby. Sunday is the Futures game, so the minor league All-Star game and a celebrity softball game. We've had the second highest sales at this point ever for that Sunday day in just the course of this 3 or 4 months that we've had to plan for it. So, and maybe it'll get to first once we get through it. So Denver's representing the
Colorado.
City loves its sports, loves baseball, and proves it every year with the attendance numbers. I know Rockies, people get mad. Yep. I know there are a lot of people out there that are Rockies lovers that get mad at the attendance numbers because they feel at times that ownership only cares about that. But at the same time, the city and the state loves baseball, and we're excited to put this city and Coors Field on a national pedestal, and to represent the All-Star game this year. It's an honor, and it's going to be a lot of fun as long as people are nice to me. Just be nice.
Be nice to Scotty if you see him out there.
If for whatever reason your ticket doesn't work and you come to the window, just relax. We're here to help.
Well, there you have it, guys. Check out the All-Star Game. We'll see you here on Sunday. We have a lot to talk about, as mentioned. So make sure you're here. Hit those notifications to on, and we will see you back in the lab on Sunday. Have a great rest of your week, and just be good to each other. Have a great rest of your work week. We